Alright, in the previous video we did discuss about what are the request methods and what exactly do they do, and now we're gonna simulate that in our Postman. So let's open Postman. You will open Postman, everything is gonna be clean. Just imagine everything is clean, there is nothing here. So we're gonna create a new collection. Let's give the collection name is test request methods. So we created, now we have created a collection right here, and within the collection we can now add request. Let's add the request, give the name get request sample. We can give the description if we want to already. So now we can see like we have created the get. Now over here, this is some kind of a layout that you guys will see. The Postman tutorial gives us the request endpoint. This is also called endpoint. Endpoint always have three things in it: the protocol, the server name, and the path. Okay, so we got the whole endpoint. Let's go to Postman and let's paste it. Okay, now this one has everything in it. Now let's just fire it. Once we fire it, so we are able to see the response coming. Over here you can see that the status code that we are is 200. 200 means that is good. Okay, and down here you guys can see this is the response. Okay, now we will be talking about the post request. Let's add another request here that is going to be a post request. I'm going to duplicate this one and I'm going to name this as a post request sample. Okay, so the post request, there is one major thing in post request, that is it is going to have a body that we are sending. Not what kind of request, but what exactly are we sending along with the request, the body that we are sending along with the request. Usually the body is going to be in JSON format. It can be a raw body, it can be a binary body. You can select the file. It can be a form data where you have to just put the key and the value, and or it can be along based on what exactly our request is structured as. 90% of the times, or 99% of the times, a form body, raw body, or binary is going to do perfectly fine. Or it is going to be a URL encoded body. If it is an encoded body, so again it just takes keys and value. Okay, so let's see what kind of body is given to us in this example. Okay, so there is another post request sample that has been given by Postman that we can test out. So let's go to the Postman again. Let's paste this request endpoint. Let's change it to post, and now let's see what is the body that they have. Okay, copy and paste one user result below. Ensure the code has been copied correctly in the paired class. Okay, change ID to 11, the name desired, and you will change the details accordingly. Okay, so now we can, over here you can see this is a whole raw body. The raw body is usually distinguished if it is in JSON format, and it looks something like this. Okay, so let's go here and go to the raw body and just paste the whole JSON format here. Now let's save it. Let's save the previous one so that we don't lose it. Now we're gonna fire this one as well and see how already. So over here now you folks can see this is the response that we are getting, the response body. This is the status that we are getting, the response status, and it says 201 created. So in the previous video we did mention, we did talk about the post request is usually going to save something in the database or create something in the database. Okay, so whenever it is stuff, whenever stuff is created in the database or new entry has been created in the DB, we will be getting the response that is 201. Okay. In case if let's say if we have a file that we want to upload, so all you have to do is just go to binary and select, and you can select the file that you wanna paste it, and then you can also send it with the whole request while sending it already. So there's another thing that I want to talk about is each and every request has the headers in it. The headers are something that are sent along with the request. So these are the default headers, but we can also add the headers based on what kind of headers that the specific request has. Okay, so it's pretty much the headers are going to be based on the request. There are requests which will take any headers. There could be a request that only takes 2 headers, let's say just the content type, and there might be other requests that might take multiple headers. So you can add headers here, and in case if you do not need headers, you can delete headers from here as well. Okay, there is one more thing that we've been talking about. In case there are a lot of times the server name is never going to change, even though in our case we can see that the server name are pretty much the same in both the cases. So what we can do is, instead of hard coding it here in each and every request, we can create a global, or we can create a environment variable where we can add that specific host name, a specific server name, so that in case if there are any changes to the server name, we don't have to go to each and every request and change it. Imagine there are like more than 50 requests in our collection, in our disk collection. Then in case if the type code changes from type code to type PECODE, so we do have to go to each and every request and change it. So there's another way we can do it. We can create the environment variable. We click over there and this page will come. We add, and let's give the name that is server name. Server name, and now let's give the variable, let's give the host name, or let's just give the server, and let's give the initial value. Let's just do 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, just a random value. And the next value, the current value that we are going to give, is the one that is provided, which is this. So let's give the current value, which is just JSON placeholder.typecode.com. Okay, so now we have this. Now let's cancel this. Oh, not to cancel it, my bad. Server name, server, initial value, let's give the initial value as JSON placeholder only, and let's give the current value as tilde.com. Okay, so now this one has been added. Okay, now let's say if we have multiple environments, so let's add another environment. Let's say we have QA environment, and QA environment has server name as well. I can't even type today. Okay, server name as well. Then we have the same initial value here, and we have the current value here as well. Okay, let's just assume that the environment on the QA is different than the environment on this server name. Let's change this server name to dev development. So let's say one time we want to run the specific request on dev, the second time we want to run the specific request on QA environment. So this is how we will have it structured, and once we have this scenario, then all we have to do is choose it from here. If we choose QA, it's gonna run on QA. If we choose dev, it's gonna run on dev. Okay, but before we do it, we have to parameterize it. So instead of having this here, we're gonna have two curly braces, and within the curly braces we will give the name of the environment variable, which was server name. Okay, so now you folks will see. Well, let's save it, and you guys will see we will still have the same response that we had the last time. Okay. Okay, so server name, maybe the server name is not the one that we are choosing. Okay, so it is server. Let's change this to server. What did we put in QA? Server name. Let's edit it. Let's just have server, update it. Now we should be fine. Yes. Okay, so now if I save it and let's run it, see over here we are able to fire the request, because this server name value is coming from the environment. The environment that is coming from is server, and you folks can see the current value of the server is what we have given, that is JSON placeholder.typecode.com. Similarly, if we change it to QA environment, you folks will see the there's another current value that is coming from QA environment now instead of dev environment. We can just send the request again, and it will fire the request based off of what we have in QA environment. So that is pretty much the same. We can do the same over here as and let's fire it. So we got it again. So thank you. So this will do for this video. In the next video we'll be talking about the use of pre-request script and how to get the value from the response, and how to save that value so that we can use that specific value in subsequent requests. So stay tuned for those videos.